There we go. So second month meetup, and I'm so excited that here we are, March Women's History Month, and to get some of the feedback and to watch certainly on the Facebook group what you guys are doing in support of this amazing memorial, our memorial. So thank you all for what you do. I'm going to actually hand this over sort of to Jan and let her walk through some of these slides. And then as we'll have conversation along the way, but we'll have more space then to just collaborate. And I've got a couple of my team members that are joining as well that can talk a little bit more about those folks that you guys are registering and how you can help us to make sure we don't add too many duplicates. It is a little bit cumbersome to merge files. It seems like it shouldn't be, but in order to get it all just right, it does take a little bit more time than you would think. So that's one of the things we want to talk about as we go through there. So Jan, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, so real quick, this is a basic agenda for today. I did want to cover our 2022 Ambassador recognition and talk about the great work that you've done last year. Certainly our big focus, our big mission is registration. So we're going to have an update on the registration status and what the headquarters is doing regarding registration at their level so that you know how to blend with it at your state level. Just a tad bit on the memorial renovation. Most of you, a lot of you were at the 25th anniversary, so you saw some of the things that have been done already. Some important dates for 2023 in terms of events, talk a little bit about brand champions, and then I know Claire will pop in on that because that's a big thing for Claire. And then any final thoughts and discussions that we have. So on to the Impact Awards. If you recall, we have several categories for Impact Awards. The first is the educational impact given annually to up to 5 ambassadors in 2 categories: the highest number of events participated in and the most engagements. In other words, the most people that are at these events. And of course, everything is, Kentucky windage. We're not asking you to, count people down to the person. You estimate the number of people that come to the event and you engage with. Also, Ambassador Honor Roll, state teams with the highest percentage increase in registration. State teams with the largest number of new registrations. That kind of levels the playing field for states that are smaller than others. And then ambassadors with the highest number of registration input personally. So the honorees are, for 2022, the most number of events: Toledo Pasquale Jackson in Texas with 36, Joy Frenchen in Maine with 33, Capisylvia with 18, Shelley Langston with 16, and Sandy Adams with 15. So congratulations, ladies, on being out there. Even though COVID is still a little bit in our life and events are still coming back to life, particularly the larger ones, we really appreciate everybody being out there and engaged as much as possible. In terms of the most contacts at an event, Tricia Vandentop gets the award because she did a parade. And when you're in a parade, you're exposed to a lot of people. So, carrying a banner in the parade certainly means a lot of people see what you're talking about. Toledo Pasquale Jackson in Texas with over 6,000. And again, Joy Ascension in Maine with over 4,000. Joaquina Sotomayor in Colorado with almost 3,000 contacts. And Shelley Langston in South Carolina with almost 2,000 contacts. So congratulations, ladies, for this great work that you're doing out there, getting exposure for the memorial and our mission and our journey of getting registrations into the database, which is the #1 mission. If we don't continue to tell these stories, they'll be lost. If we don't build our registration database up, we have a hard time explaining to other people why they should register or why they should support them. So it's very important. It's core to what we do to ensure that we have the most number of registered members as possible.
Win this 2000.
Go ahead. Who had a question? Hearing none, I'll move on to the team with the greatest percentage increases in registrations out of the total eligible. District of Columbia, of course, you cheat a little bit when you're in the DMV area because the memorial's right there and some of that work is being done by the volunteers at the memorial, but there's no way to parse that. So District of Columbia gets the highest number of percentage increase in new registrations. Maine is second. Team Virginia is third. Team Maryland is fourth. Carol Ron and Team West Virginia. And here's a little state that's chugging along and trying to get things done. So there's not a lot of women veterans in West Virginia, but she had a great increase in percentage, tied with Pennsylvania for about a 1% increase against total eligible. Total number of registrations, Virginia wins with 1,200, Florida with over 1,000, Texas with over 1,000, Team California with a little bit over 600, and Team Pennsylvania with 549. So congratulations to the teams with the greatest number of registrations. And then the highest registrations input by an ambassador herself. Now, I would tell you two things about this. One, we really appreciate it when you find people who aren't registered and you get them registered. Ideally, we would want the person to register themselves, because that means we'll have their email address and more information than you get if you register them separately. But I will never discourage you from registering women of any kind, particularly when you find some of the older women or the deceased women whose stories haven't been told. I think it's important to make sure they're not forgotten. So we appreciate everybody's work in getting out there and getting registrations input. Kathy Sylvia was on top this year with 185. Sandy Adams, I think you were top last year. You're 130 at number 2 position this year. Carol Ron, again, a state that's not very big in terms of size or number of women veterans, but Carol's been out there doing a great job digging up registrations in her state. And Tanya Whitney in Louisiana, and Jill Henry in Illinois. So thank you, ladies, for your great work in adding to our overall registration database. So recognition for this year. We are, first of all, grateful to everybody, not just the people who, you know, came out on top of whatever the statistic was, but every one of you is out there on a daily basis trying to promote the memorial and get people to understand that their story is important to us. We will have a $10 gift certificate again this year. We're going to use the 25th anniversary coin. And
Harry's Razors doesn't want your business.
Who's Harry's Razors? Can we see if we have somebody on that doesn't belong?
The power of the mute button.
Yeah, we got to have to figure out who to mute. I see a couple of phone numbers, but I'm not going to make the assumption that they are.
I just signed on. I don't know if anyone can hear me or if I'm doing this correctly. This is Rudy from Wyoming.
Hi, Rudy. How are you?
Doing good. I'm glad I finally figured this out.
Excellent. We were just talking about the recognition for this year,
Yes.
and I was going over the mementos for the individual and winning teams for this year. So thank you again to everybody. These will be getting prepared and out to you, hopefully in good order. Turning to 2023, Phyllis has said many times that our objective is 23,000 for 2023. Where we are right now is registered year to date 1107, which is about 48% of our goal. Really, to reach the goal, every month of the year we need to register 1,191, something wrong with my numbers. I think that was a 0.7. So just under 1,200 a month to reach our goal. So just to give you an idea, this is a challenge. You know, Phyllis knows it's a challenge to get this many registrations in a single year, but I think we're going to talk about some of the things that happen at the headquarters level that might help in the outreach, and with you out there at the grassroots level, having the conversations one-on-one. I think we can get there. So these are some of the things that the headquarters is doing to try to make sure that we capture as many registrations as possible. During opening hours, we have assistance available to register people at the memorial. The staff at the memorial does everything they can to get honor flights coming in with women registered before they come so they can get their presentation printout when they arrive. This is pretty exciting, potentially getting a table in the food court in the Pentagon. I don't know if we've nailed down the dates yet, but they were looking for April, June, August, October, or September, October. Military installations. Some of you are out there finding ways to get on military installations and get tables at community events. Keep working those connections. We do what we can at the headquarters level to do it, but some of these organizations are, controlled at the Pentagon level, and some you're able to work your way into at your local level. I think Barbara had gotten on to Shaw Air Force Base as an example to set up a table. Vietnam War commemoration is coming up this year, and the MWM is going to have a tent at the National Mall. They're calling it Camp Legacy as part of the Vietnam War celebration. There's probably Vietnam War celebrations in your areas this year because it's a big anniversary for the Vietnam commemoration. So be on the lookout for events in your area where you might be able to set up a registration opportunity. A lot of work on social media, promoting the different registrations, like Phyllis mentioned a little while ago, taking stories out of the register so people understand what it means to be registered at the memorial. They're continue to work targeted ads in Google and Facebook. I posted to the Facebook page some of the public service announcements that have been prepared and have gone out in different magazines already and are available for you to use if you need to make a poster. The newsletters, I just talked about stories from the register and the PSAs. Speaking engagements, a number of you have agreed to take speaking engagements as of late, and we really appreciate it because there's only so much time Phyllis has on her schedule and only so much money available to fly to distant events. So we really appreciate it when you're able to take those events. And Darlene, thank you for getting sponsorship for Phyllis to come out to Seattle so that didn't cost the foundation anything, and she's going to make use of the time, I know, to try to make some additional contacts while she's out there. So appreciate that, but we really appreciate it when you're able to do these events as well. And I know a lot of you are. We do try to get free tables at national and local conferences. We really can't afford to pay for them. But sometimes with a little cajoling, we're able to get a free table. Virginia gives us a free table every year at their annual conference. It's about building that relationship. And then, of course, partnering with the government and the military service and veteran service organizations. You may have seen a clip of Phyllis talking to, or at least a photo of Phyllis talking at the American Legion National Convention this year. Those big events are the things where, it's important for having an important speaker out there to talk about the Military Women's Memorial. Phyllis, do you want to talk about what you're doing with Florida?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Hi, everybody. Wow, we were up to 41 people in the meeting. This is fantastic. So one of the things, we're doing a pilot program. I'm a Floridian I joined the Army from there. And so I know Tampa, Florida space quite well. And it's also a very target-rich environment for us. So we're working with the mayor's office. They have a particular women veteran focus group. And we have 2 ambassadors that are right there. So we're working through that and some other avenues to get the local elected and big names in the area to do some shout outs and call to actions to get as many women veterans in that area registered. Also, when I just spoke last week up here at a conference for the National Association of State Directors of Veterans Affairs, I did a challenge that every state brings us 500 new registrants in 2023. If all 50 states brought me 500 registrants, that would be 25,000. So we'd break the goal. It's a stretch goal, no doubt, to get to 23,000, but I think Tampa, Florida, just that area alone, as we pilot that, if it works well, we're going to look at what other large metro areas also have a plethora of veterans, and in particular women veterans, that we can go to. So we are also sampling and looking at the areas. In particular, the next leapfrogs would be either San Antonio and or San Diego. There's other areas, and we want to be everywhere, but again, it's just a matter of, the hours in a day to do that. But that's where we're starting.
Any questions so far on the things that are going on from the headquarters level for registration? The registration campaign? Chris, Claire, any comments?
Deb Lewis raised her hand, Jen.
Hey, Deb.
Aloha.
Aloha.
I'm just getting into the AI world, and while we were here, I asked the question to my Genie AI and said, write an article supporting the Women's Memorial. And it has this fabulous article that just came out that will blow you away. Took like 5 seconds. And one of the things is doing these articles, whether it's short, newspapers can decide what they take, but oh my gosh. It's a pretty long one. I can put it in the chat if you like. And I can put it on the Facebook site, but I'm just going to show you just a sample of what AI can do for us now. It's the Genie app. And I've been using it for my business. And I just thought, hey, what if I use it for the Women's Memorial? What will it say? And if you want to look in the chat, go look at this.
Deb, what's the next step for everybody that's on this? So now they have an article created by your Genie. Who do they reach out to in order to get it published somewhere? Because not everybody here knows who to reach out.
I would say, think of what you listen to. Like, we have a local paper. I can submit it to them. They're desperate for articles because they have no staff anymore. You can send it to radio stations. They have a service requirement on most of I think all of them. They all have that, and they can maybe, you could send it if I have contacts that I know. This is Women's History Month. So I think we have an in this month. And so you can take pieces of this that I just sent you. But I'm just saying, the power of messaging and putting it on Facebook, and there's just all kinds of social media places we can put it. And I just hope that we all have connections, contacts, and this is short for those. I'm just saying, I'm astounded at the AI. I just put it on my thing yesterday, and I've gotten 2 answers that have just blown me out of the water.
I would encourage everybody also that doesn't necessarily have that bandwidth to do it again, is certainly the American Legion did a fantastic, just a 2-page article. And that's why I think we're seeing quite a uptick in registrations. So if you go to the social media platform and look for the American Legion, you'll see the magazine and that article. I've shared it also onto the Ambassador Facebook group page, so you can see that. The DAV, like today, I think it was DAV that named me as their International Women's Day veteran. So you can see that. The American Legion did a podcast with me recently. They just relaunched it out today. So there's all of these things that if you will share it out across your platforms, you don't have to necessarily write it all. But to Deb's point, I think that's amazing. We have 2 other hands. We have another hand raised. Deb, if you'll lower your hand. Who else have I got with a raised hand? If you've raised your hand, please jump on in now.
Hi, Barb Kaharchek from South Carolina. The question is, if we use this piece that your AI, Deb, wrote, who do we credit? Or should we? What's the process for that, crediting that development?
Well, I don't think I would recommend you just taking what the AI writes and submitting it to a paper. That's a starting point, but
it's a start, but it is original content because it pulls from all different sources. And
it pulls from what articles we've written.
Public,
imagine-
yeah, it's public information.
Yeah,
But
But
some
I
of it
think
might not
you
be
need
as
to read
accurate
it.
as you believe.
right. You need to read it and make sure not only is the content current, but that the size is right. I mean, a lot of papers don't want to publish really long things, and Shelley and Barb recently had some good success. Barb, talk about your Valentine's Day.
Well, it was there's a little, I'll call it a rag, no offense. It's like 8 pages and it's published not even in Sumter or by Shaw or by anybody associated with the base, but it's called the Shaw News. And on a whim, I just called up the editor, who was very amenable to doing anything that I would give her. So I sent her a thing that she posted, that she put in the newspaper around Valentine's Day, saying how to give your woman veteran a permanent Valentine, and then about registering for the memorial. And she's doing another one, which I'm not sure if it came out last week or if it'll come out this week, for Women's History Month, how to honor your woman veteran during Women's History Month. So it's just a little tiny newspaper, but it's free and it's everywhere. It's all around on the base. It's in the Y downtown in Sumter. I don't even know who distributes it, but it appears. And so my next hurdle is going to be the Sumter item, but I think they will be amenable. I think it's like Deb or somebody said, the newspapers want local color stuff. And so this is it. And I will say there's other organizations. I'm going to be speaking next week at the Clarendon County Historical Society. Who knew? But it's an opportunity, and Clarendon County is adjacent to Sumter. There's a lot of veterans in this general area. So some of those kinds of organizations are prime opportunities for just a little short. And some of them don't even have facilities for PowerPoint, so it becomes a show and tell. Did that to the senior citizens group last week, walk amongst them, holding up things, and they all had a good time, and the feedback was very good. And 2 charter members were recognized, and nobody else in the senior citizens group even knew they had vets, and 2 of them are charter members, so it was pretty cool. Thank you.
You got a couple more hands up, Phyllis. You want me to call him or you want to call him?
Arlene, I think, has a hand up.
I just wanted to note, if nobody else saw it last night, that CBS News had the 4 generals, 4-star women on, and that was held at the memorial. And I got 4 calls at home this morning, and then I was doing a presentation at the college today, and I had a number of people come up and say, I'm so glad you told me about the memorial. I saw it on the news last night. So little by little, we get known, and I think that's really fun that people know about it, and then it gets talked about. And I thought it was, I don't know what you thought about the piece of the women being interviewed, but I thought it was a very nice spot on the news last night with Nora.
And the longer spot, is it next week, Phyllis, on person to person?
I believe so. And I think I posted in the Facebook ambassador group page as well, the
Mhm.
article that has an hour and 19-minute video embedded in that, the entire panel conversation with Nora O'Donnell and the 4 currently serving
Yeah.
4-stars. It was a fantastic event. It was like
Yeah.
pinch me moment. It was amazing.
It was absolutely. So, thank you.
Mhm. I don't see any.
Sandy has her hand up.
Yeah, quick question. The DAR, so I've had a chance to talk to one DAR chapter out here, and getting ready to talk to another. And they invited me to listen in on a national teaching event this week on Dr. McGee, who helped establish the Army Nurse Corps through her efforts with the Spanish-American War. So as part of the national registration campaign, is there anything that the memorial is doing? Because I know, Phyllis, you're a member of DAR already. Are you guys already working something at a national level with them?
We are. As a matter of fact, they have graciously provided us $250,000 already this year in support of our renovations. I will be one of their key speakers at the national convention, their Congress, late June here in the Washington, D.C. area. But there's a lot of other things. I'll also be highlighted, well, me as a daughter of the American Revolution, but also, as you know, General Vaught also is a DAR woman. So we're tight with all of that. And as a nurse and seeing what Dr. McGee did, I watched the webinar myself too, Sandy. We're partnering very closely with them. Dr. McGee is buried at Arlington National Cemetery. We'd like to do some kind of an afternoon tea or something along those lines with an info session about her, and then wander over to where she's laid to rest and visit, and maybe place some flowers there. We want to make sure that we keep this connection very, very close. But I think it's the May, June magazine, DAR magazine, that will be, they'll talk a little bit about me, but the big call to action is asking every DAR chapter. And this is, if any of you have a chance to speak at a DAR chapter, remind them that the president of your memorial is a daughter. And my call to action to them is to register 5 women, whether it's women that are members in their chapter or somebody in their community. And then also 1 square foot. It's $330. That's a wonderful donation for them to make in honor of you having gone to speak, or on behalf of some of the chapters are named for women patriots along the way. And so they can do it in honor of that particular woman, or they choose. But that $330 coming in from all of these different chapters and posts across will make a huge difference for all of us. And it's a great way for them to get that recognition back, something that's tangible in their hands. So
Phyllis, those are great bullet points. Thank you so much, because I'm going to add that to my talk that I'm going to give in a couple of weeks. And I just signed my application. My mother and I, it looks like we're eligible, so we may be joining too.
Yay.
I
And
think
Sandy,
Susan had her hand up.
I gave Sandy more work as well. They're going to be renaming a portion of a VA medical center for a Navy captain, Kathleen Bruyere, in the San Diego area. And I can't be there because I'm going to be in Washington State in May. So perhaps we should have a Navy admiral be there as opposed to an Army person. So Sandy, if you can do that or find somebody to cover down on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I just responded. I just saw that when I got home, and I will be able to cover that. Ironically, I just met her the second or third time I gave my talk on history of women in the military many years ago. She happened to be in the audience of about 10 women that I spoke to, and she corrected something to add some more specificity, and I welcomed it. It's like, great, and who are you? And it's like, oh my God, thank you.
I think Susan Hawthorne has her hand up.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So a question on the partnering with the government bullet comment. I'm going to put my Red Cross hat on for a second on the service to armed forces. So the Red Cross, they are usually in attendance at the graduations for most of the individual advanced training. And I'm just wondering, what can we do to partner up with them to get that visibility? Red Cross is there. Why can't we have an ambassador there as well? And maybe we can register those young females that have just completed their training, or at least give them information going forward about, hey, maybe you should look and register. Just a thought.
What installation are you referring to?
Well, I see it on their individual advanced training, their AIT.
But where exactly? I mean, this is
Well,
across the country necessarily. What installation?
that's correct. I just get a blip of it through the service to armed forces. So I see them, and I could research that and find out which ones they're at or they're allowed to be at. Because we do have, Red Cross volunteers at the MEPS and other locations. And I'm just wondering if that's a possibility that maybe we can partner up with them. I could find out more information. Just a thought.
Yeah, Susan, I'm going to take that for action. Let me do a little bit of research and then reach back to you on that. Because I think, again, as we all know, trying to get onto certain installations, some are more amenable than others. And, I don't think it's going to be a one size fits all, sadly, but we can try to crack that code and getting back in there. As I understand, there were times when we, of course, back when posts were open before all of the gates were secured and so forth, I think it was far easier in the 80s and 90s than it is now. I see we've got 3 raised hands. I'm having trouble figuring out who's raised their hand.
Joy,
Thank you.
you need to unmute, Joy.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just said hi from Maine. I just wanted to mention a few things that I've been doing. One of them is, I don't know how familiar everybody is with Travis Mills Foundation. He's a recalibrated veteran, and he has a retreat here in Maine and brings men and women from all over the country here to, it's Rome, Maine. But he's got a huge following of people, and his media person that does all their social media and everything has agreed to meet with me, and they're going to help me promote, and this will be probably beneficial to all across the country, but they're going to help me promote, our memorial and registrations with them. So I've got a meeting that I'm trying to connect with them next week or the week after. So that should be hopefully pretty major, because he's quite the guy.
And to quickly, so as Joy says, a recalibrated combat wounded veteran, he is one of 5 living quadruple amputees.
Correct.
Lost all 4 limbs, but he and his family are thriving. And so anything that we can do in support of, as a matter of fact, Joy, I've run shadow 5Ks. He does a 5K on Memorial Day weekend. And so we've done some of those even down in Florida. So that's one of those things. I think some of these partnerships, think outside the box. How could we perhaps do some shadow runs in support of Travis Mills? And then in return, they're helping, or any organization in your home state that might help us do with outreach and registration. That'd be big.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That is a totally new phrase to me, a recalibrated veteran. What does that mean exactly?
There's only, like Phyllis had just mentioned, Travis Mills, recalibrated veteran, he's lost all 4 limbs.
Okay.
During active duty, and there's only 5 of them still living that happened to. And okay. he took his devastation and turned it into something really great and amazing here in Maine. He has a retreat here that he brings for free. He's a nonprofit, but he brings recalibrated veterans that have been wounded or PTSD, all different types of serious situations, and brings them to Maine with their families and just lets them explore all different things to do outside. And it's just incredible.
So they are people who've lost their limbs, and then they recalibrate their lives to continue to be productive and all of that. Is that kind of where that comes from? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple other things that I'm doing is I have a private Facebook group for Maine women veterans here in Maine with a little over 1,400 women in it. And I put a challenge out for Women's History Month for women to register. And since I've done that, I've registered 4 women. I'm telling them I will register with you. You contact me and we'll register together. And so that seems to be working. I mean, it's not the numbers that I want yet, but I'm trying one by one to get them to make sure that they get registered. So just add a little fun to it. Here's a challenge for Women's History Month. Make yourself be part of history.
So far, Maine has 23 registrants in 2023.
Yeah.
Got 23 down and got a bit more to go, but you're getting there. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's all, I had a woman in my group that I registered the other day, and I'd never spoken to her before here in Maine, but she is going through a lot of traumatic things. And she was so thrilled to know that we had a memorial where she could register her service. And she's a single mom, and her son are just thrilled that her mother was recognized on our memorial. So it's very, very heartwarming and amazing to do this, to actually take the time and talk to the women and help them register when they don't feel like they have the ability to do it. And so working on that. The other thing that I'm doing is, well, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of an organization called 100 Women Who Care. Is that familiar to anybody? I noticed on Facebook, there's several them around the country. There's one in Maine that has over 1,300 women, I guess, that are participants in it. And I've been trying to connect with them. I just identified it a couple of days ago, but I didn't know if that was familiar to anybody, because I understand they have them in different states. Another program that I'm involved in that I just got a couple of women veterans to register is what we call Vet to Vet. And it's a nonprofit organization. We have one chapter here in Maine that they buddy up a veteran with another veteran to be like kind of like companions, and they do different things together. And so they've been really great partners with me, and that might be something to look at in your own area. Let's see. And also the other thing I started doing was I got thinking about all the major companies that we have in Maine. I mean, we're a small state in that regard, but you know, we have LLB headquarters here, different organizations, and I have reached out to a couple of them with no feedback yet, but I wanted to find out how we could partner with them to promote, because I know these companies hire a lot of women, you know, veterans in general, and how we can, you know, connect and, you know, help each other out. So working on those sorts of things, and just kind of keep thinking. That's all I got for the moment. Thank you.
Thanks, Joy. I think Robin has been very patient with her hand up.
Yes.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I just read the flagpole, the U.S. Army Women's Foundation newsletter, and there was no mention of us in that newsletter. I know there has been in the past. Is there a recurring theme we could get them to put in there to attract at least the women veterans that they send this newsletter to?
There is. It's a very busy month for them as well. And of course, they're a foundation trying to raise money and get their followership. Of course, as you likely know, right here in our own backyard at the Army Museum in Northern Virginia, they'll be doing their Hall of Fame induction ceremony on the 22nd of March. I'm tracking very closely because I just came off their board of directors, December 31st, just not enough hours in the day. But we're working with them to get at least 6 of their 12 newsletters a year with stories, you know, call to action, encouraging women to register their stories into our national database through them. But Ann McDonald is their president, and she's very receptive and very supportive of doing things in collaboration with us. But that's a good question, Robin.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Barbara, your hand is up. Do I need to lower it for you, or is you had something else? You're on mute. Barbara, you're on mute.
Sorry, I got it. Sorry. Yes, my question is that because we were talking just Joy about the different organizations that she's looking for, is there anything that y'all can put out that would help us to find out if we can contact a company or a business or an organization about being a partner or a sponsor without stepping on legal toes and all that sort of thing? And Janet, we've communicated. I'm particularly talking about USAA, and I'm grinding my teeth that I don't see them anywhere. And you know,
we really need to leave the corporate sponsorships to the headquarters. If you have ideas, we can pass the ideas up. But Phyllis has been working USA really, really hard. So we don't really want to cross paths. If you find somebody local that's not a national business that you think might want to sponsor somebody or something like that, feel free to bring it up. And, you know, I can let you know if that's something that is being worked on. You know, we have an entire list, an long Excel list of companies we're trying to work with. So we don't want to give them the impression that we don't know what we're doing, and one hand doesn't know what the other one's doing. So if it's a national business, really need to leave that to the headquarters.
Right, and it's good. I just, the words that you had in your email that I'm trying to remember because I don't have it up on the screen, but they don't
see us as part of their giving profile.
Right, their giving profile, and that just grinds my teeth because I've read their mission and their little statements that they have on their member webpage about sponsorships and partnerships, and it's all about if the organization is in concert with the mission of USAA, and the first line in the mission is supporting and honoring veterans.
Yeah,
I think the problem we have working
with
with
the president of USAA, we're getting there. We're just not there quite yet, and they've had some turnover in their corporate giving offices. And just when you think you're almost to the end zone, somebody switches out. Now you got to start rebuilding relationships, because you got to know with an organization like USAA, everybody is ringing their doorbell asking for sponsorship and support. And we're just trying to find, because the problem that we have that a lot of others don't is that we have this incredibly beautiful memorial and education center. And so when they hear us coming calling, they think that we need help with a brick and mortar museum. And that's not in their wheelhouse. We're like, we don't need help with that. What we need help with is our programs, our events, the ability to tell the stories of the incredible women that have served and defended this nation. And so we're making headway, but I finally got an end run into the president of USAA's office. So I'm feeling pretty good about where we should be here soon. But back to your question, locally, there are small businesses. Many of your chambers of commerce have a military advisory council or committee. Get in front of them, ask for an opportunity to speak. The Rotary clubs, all of the Legion posts and that in your area, they are target rich. And so many of them are looking for ways to help support their military women veterans that are now joining their organizations. And this is a strong way for them to make sure they're helping with that. So I see, Robin, your hand is still up, and Lenora, your hand is up. Robin, do you have more to add?
No, I just sent Jan an email about 10 companies, all small business owners, all veterans, a lot of them women, like Riveter handbags, two women, Fort Bragg.
We're working with them as well to get a custom branded bag that is just ours, that's co-branded, our Riveter MWM.
So there's 9 other organizations like that. I just mailed that to Jan, so that might be of interest as well.
Lenora?
Hi, everyone. So excited to be here. I just wanted to ask real quick. I'd sent a direct message to you, Jan, but I don't know if I really sent it. My computer's been so wonky this morning, but I was wondering if maybe once a month we could get an email direct from WMSA that is our state representing the numbers we have had registered over that past month. And so I think that would be really helpful to see where our efforts really need to be dug in deeper, and what we need to just realize, hey, this isn't really working for us. Is there any way we could just do a monthly update on how our state's doing?
So I'm going to show you in just a minute the data that we have by state. It is possible that I could pull that off for you once a month. So let's look at it and see. We can't send you a list of names. That we cannot.
Understand that.
But we can tell you the numbers. So that's not out of the ordinary to do. So I can take that on. If we're having monthly calls, I can plan on giving it to you on the monthly calls, but one way or another, I can get that data for you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. So it's like we set Lenora up to ask that question because we're going to talk about some of the key messaging here. And then we've got 3 great slides with some data points that we can pull off to help with reports for each of you.
So we talked at the 25th anniversary about messaging and trying to find messages that work. Unfortunately, one message doesn't work for everybody. There has to be generational recognition that every generation is different. So me talking about a World War II woman to somebody who's just starting their service might not get her to register. So we have to develop messaging that can, you have to be adaptable and find messaging that connects with the group that you're talking to. These are just examples, and we've been talking at the headquarters level about how we need to develop generational messaging, because there's a lot of young kids who say, why should I? And to me, that's selfish. It's why shouldn't you? What's in it for me? Oh, geez, that's selfish. But we have to be able to look at it from the perspective of the person being asked to register and develop messaging that works with the younger generation, not just messaging that works with, veterans that are 55 and above. So that's just one of the challenges we have. And we continue to look for, the pithy little messages that really make a difference with the people who are currently serving. This is total registrations by, went one too many. My mouse got anxious. Registrations, my mouse is having a mind of its own. Okay, see if it stays there. I'm not touching it, I promise. All right. Honest to God, I'm not touching it.
I bet your mouse had a martini for lunch or something.
It must have, or it's been smelling paint fumes. So this is in purple, the number of people registered. In blue, the women veterans population per the last data that was published by the VA. I would tell you it does not include deceased people nor people currently serving. So if you're in Texas, you need to add, 50, 60,000 more women, no, probably not 60,000 more women, but between all the military bases, active duty, and the reservists, there's a lot more people eligible to register by state than VA is going to count in their numbers. This gives you an idea. We have a long, long way to go, even in states that have done a great job because they have a lot of women veterans like California, Florida, Texas, Virginia. So there's plenty of room for growth. Now, some of the other states, have fewer veterans to deal with to begin with, like Alaska, Montana, Wyoming. But still, every woman's story counts. The challenge is, how do you get in front of all these women to convince them that we really do think their story matters and it deserves to be told? Let's see if I can page down and make it not, okay. So this is new registrations by state and year. So I've added calendar year 2022 to the information, and that is in yellow. This is registrations input by ambassadors in 2022, which was 571. So I can separate out the total registrations per state from the total available per state if you would prefer to see it that way, or would you prefer to see it in comparison to the total possible versus the total registered? That's a question. I will come back to that slide. Or do you just want to see numbers?
I personally prefer numbers.
Okay.
Me too. Yeah.
Easy enough to do.
And you want total numbers, or you want the numbers just for this calendar year? You want to see month to month growth, like where we stopped as of February 28th and where it is then as of March 31st?
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah.
So you can see the
As
growth by
opposed
month,
to what?
just a total
Well-
number for year to date.
This shows total number year to date. This one is how we're doing from year over year from 2019 to 2022. Doesn't give you the totals, it gives you just for those years.
I would like, this is Joy, I would like to see where, like for the state of Maine, how many total registrations do we have overall? And then how we're, how are we trending? I don't know if that makes sense, but.
Ditto, because that trend makes a difference.
Okay, but I can't make 50 charts
Right.
or 50 Excel spreadsheets for you. We gotta figure out how we can get you information that's going to be meaningful without each state having to be done separately.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say total overall, so that it kind of gives you an idea of how many women you've still got out there trying to find.
But
Okay,
trust
but-
me, there's no state that has more than 12% of your available already registered.
That's true.
You got lots and lots of people. 9 out of 10 women veterans are likely in your state not registered.
So Jen, what's the source? What is your source of data?
Or the number of registrations is our database.
No, not the number of registrations, the number
the-
of,
The number of veterans is the VA.
okay, we all know how good the VA is, but okay.
Well, We've
If they
got
go-
plenty of room to go. If we get down to the last 5 or 10 people, then we can start talking about the accuracy of the data. But
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is we have thousands of people in most states, tens of thousands in the bigger states that are not registered.
And that's why
And
that,
not every veteran in every state is registered with the VA.
That's true, but we can't make it up. We have to have a authoritative data source that we rely on. So
and they only receive, the VA uses the number actually that is not based on registration with the VA. The DD 214s is people exit the military, whatever their home of record or the state in which they report they are going to, that's on their DD 214, that state is then notified that they have an inbound new veteran. And that's how it all gets extrapolated into that.
but it still is not going to cover active duty. There's no data
Correct.
source for us to know how many active duty women there are in each state. And that's going to be a fluid number anyway, because people PCS all the time. So it's less important to have the number accurate down to a decimal point. It's more important to try to get the percentage of eligible to registrations up. And each ambassador, we've talked about this in previous sessions, each ambassador should understand their state better than we do at the headquarters level. Each ambassador can research their state and figure out where are the most likely places and events that they're going to meet the most women veterans. To go to an event to talk to 1 or 2 people, that's kind of you to do, but to go to an event where you can talk to hundreds of people, 200 people, even I think Sandy Adams or Carolyn Comfort might be on, or Sandra Robinson, but they registered 26 people at an event last week and they had probably 200 women at it. Okay, that's great, right? 26 people actually getting registered, but there were 200 women at the event. So even when you go to a big event, you have to work hard to convince people to register and capture their time enough in an event like that to get them pinned down enough that they're going to register. So it's important to understand where you're going to meet the most people, get the most exposure, I think anyway, in terms of how you choose to spend your time.
I think that's a really good point, Jen.
Phyllis had added this slide about the National Association of State Veterans, Directors of Veterans Affairs. So I'm not sure, I think you already commented on it a little bit, but did you have something else for this
Right.
one?
So if you go to their website, the NASDVA, each of the the names by the state, it actually, you can click on it and it'll take you right to their homepage. You can contact them, find out from them. They've been challenged. I was in front of them and got an opportunity to speak and challenged every one of these individuals to bring us 500 registrations in their state or territory. They're all in, but they also, shared with them that we have ambassadors in these states as well. And the connective tissue is to find out what are they doing in their states that you guys can parlay and attend and participate, share information. And I just want to make sure too, for anybody that's in the Buffalo, New York area that wants to go, they have this annual training conference, August 13 through 16. So it is an opportunity to be there. And Marilla's reminding me to let you know also that there is a women veteran state coordinator in all of the states as well. So I've been working with them.
Not in every state.
Not in every state.
Correct,
Yeah.
but in nearly. So check to find out if they also are doing a women veterans event. Many of them are doing around June 12th. Many of them do it in the month of March because it's Women's History Month. But there's all kinds of opportunities, training and workshops for their many states as well have a county veteran service officer. And that's really where the rubber meets the road. That's where that individual sits and meets with a one-on-one veteran. And so to get our brochures in their hands, and while they're sitting there spending an hour counseling and working with a veteran, that's a great time if we can encourage that county level rep to say, hey, you're a woman veteran. Are you familiar with the Military Women's Memorial, and encourage them to claim. But this is another great resource. If you go there, you'll see what kind of events they're planning in your state or territory. Just another one of those pieces to reach out and make sure you're tracking that it's in your state.
And so every one of you knows because I send you a copy that each one of you, when you were appointed, we sent a letter to the Director of Veterans Affairs in your state announcing that you had been made an ambassador in your state and giving them your contact information. So we've opened the door for you the moment you're appointed as an ambassador. Your state has been notified that you're an official representative. The Women Veterans Program Coordinators, we've published, I believe, onto the Facebook site before. The contact list for them, it's fluid as well. People come and go. Some states still don't have a Women Veteran Program Coordinator, but I know most of you have made contact with. I know Judy knows Debbie Ashenhurst very well in Ohio. So every state is different, but if we can get connected, and one of the reasons why we send a notice to the state is so that you're on their distro list. That's generally the maximum that happens when we send that letter out. A few states have sent congratulatory letters to a few of you, but most of the time, what happens is you just get on their distro. Maryland published in their newsletter the appointment of an ambassador at one point. That was Allison Solomon. But as Phyllis says, these are good resources to track, to follow. And I'm sure most of you are tracking your women veterans conferences in your state. And Joy talked about her email group or her Facebook group for women veterans. In Georgia, there's already an existing Georgia Women Veterans. They've got more than 3,000 participants in that. You don't have to create anything. That organization exists. All you need to do if you're in Georgia is join it. So you should look in your Facebook searches to see if there's a group in your state. Dawn Slavin, I'm not sure if you're on, but your state has a pretty active women veterans network. Yeah, she's probably not on. She's probably
I'm on, Jan. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, exactly. And recently, Massachusetts has elevated the Department of Veteran Services to a cabinet level position. It used to be under Health and Human Services. So we actually have a new secretary. And I'm hoping that will, help even more with, providing services to veterans in Massachusetts. Speaking of, remember I had contacted you because Susan McDonough, who is the Women Veterans network coordinator. Her information wasn't updated. Do you know if we finally were able to?
I do not know. I have not seen any answer back from anybody. But
yeah, it's frustrating when you can't get
is she
information
actually a
updated.
member? Because that not everybody who is a woman veteran program coordinator is actually a member of their association. They have to voluntarily join.
But there was somewhere where they had the wrong person listed, and we were trying to get it updated and not really having much luck with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we're already at an hour, so I'm just going to touch very briefly on the redesign. A lot of you were at the memorial for the 25th, and you know that a lot of great work has been going on to freshen up the lobby, and the Vought Center looks beautiful. We have a number of refreshes that have been done on existing exhibits. And of course, we're working hard to try to raise the money for phase 2 through our capital campaign. So unless there's any questions on that, we'll move on.
Oh, poor Jan, she's trying not to cough. So I'll cover for you while you get caught up here. So important events for 2023, as we already addressed a little bit, that Women, Peace and Security program. We had the 4 currently serving 4-star women on the stage at the Military Women's Memorial. It was dynamite. And even after that, then we had the unveiling in our Color of Freedom exhibit with Major General Marcelite Harris, the first African-American woman to become a general in the Air Force. And her daughter, Tanisha, told the most powerful story. No notes, just told it from the heart, and it was stunning. If we could get her to tell stories for us, we would not have to worry about raising the money, I tell you. And then we had a reception with all kinds of folks, and the 4 stars hung around, and there were future soldiers, future, junior ROTC, Girl Scouts, and young troops from every branch of service that did these group photos with these 4 stars, and they were amazing. I'm going to tell you one quick alibi on this one. When we went up to the rooftop terrace for these great photos that you'll see some of them, Jan and I standing alongside these ladies and Nora O'Donnell from CBS. It was an Air Force NCO that pushed the button to take the elevator up for us. And she looked around and her eyes were just big as saucers. And she said, "My family will never believe this." And I said, "Where's your phone?" And she's like, "It's on me." And one of the 4 stars hollered, "Selfie." And she's like, "Really?" She pulls her phone out, she takes the picture, and she's like, "Oh my God." So while we go out and get the photos, we come back to the elevator to go back down. And it's the same young lady that's going to push the buttons to take us down. And I said, "Did you text your family?" And she's like, I did. This is the best day of my life. So isn't it funny how little things like that, she will never forget that she was the elevator operator for 4 stars. So I told her too, "I know you're registered." And she admitted that she was. And I said, "You better go in and update your most memorable experiences." So she said she would do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if she changes her photo, Jan, from her official more to that selfie. What a great picture that would be.
I would.
I would too. So are you good to go? You want to run down the list quickly?
You're doing a great job.
Okay, so March 6th, 18th, and 19th, we have former prisoner of war, Jessica Lynch, coming. We have a fantastic sit-down dinner. General Myers, who was chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff at the early days of Operation Iraqi Freedom, he will be there as well and speaking. Right after that, March 20th, the Virginia Women Veterans pinning ceremony will be done. As far as we know, it's very possible we'll have both the governor and lieutenant governor in the building that day. The 23rd is the day that Lori Piastowo was killed and the day that Jessica Lynch was taken POW. So we're going to do an event out on the plaza. Secretary McDonough from the VA should be there that day as well. We move forward to May, the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War commemoration. That, to Jan's point, we'll have that tent out on the National Mall, and registration all day long. Our normal Memorial Day program, June 10th, we're planning to do a Margaret Chase Smith Leadership Award event. More to follow on that. We're trying to get some finalized names, big names that you'll know. June 12th, 75th anniversary of the Women's Armed Service Integration Act. Kathleen Pearl, one of our team members, is really working to pull that together. Well, other parts, but trying to get the programming right. 4th of July fireworks on our rooftop. It is going to be amazing. And then our 25th anniversary will be here before you know it. So we'll be doing an open house on the weekend leading up to it. And then our second of our normal now fundraising gala that we'll do November 11th, Veterans Day. We're going to do like a holiday bazaar in December. And then of course, like always, Wreaths Across America, and we'll do community service. We do hot apple cider and hot cocoa on the plaza, as well as some teams that go out to help lay the wreaths. There's more all mixed and matched in between there, but those are the big ones.
Is Kathleen Pearl on?
I am not sure.
I thought I saw her earlier. I just wanted to mention to Melissa Lee that
yeah, Marilla says, don't forget Christmas in July. So July 9th, we will have the Wreaths Across America mobile exhibit trailer. They'll come to us. Karen Worcester from Wreaths Across America will be here. And it goes back to when we did the dedication of the 10-acre grove up in Maine for military women. So we're going to have Christmas trees inside the memorial in July with dog tags hanging on it, and encouraging women veterans to fill out the data necessary for Wreaths Across America to make those dog tags for free and get them hung on those trees in that 10 acres. And Moral and Karen Worcester promise, if we can fill up every one of those trees with some dog tags, they will give us even more acreage to continue to add to tell this story up there in the great state of Maine. And by the way, if you don't mind, if you're a praying kind of person, or just send a few words up to wishing him well. Moral Worcester just left the hospital. He's been in the hospital for days, not doing well. They couldn't figure out exactly what was wrong, but he had a stroke about 1.5 years ago. So we want to keep those Wreaths Across America coming down, and we love it when the Worcesters come to visit us. They've been great partners for us. And Wreaths Across America Radio is another opportunity. If there's any ambassador that wants to get onto the Wreaths Across America Radio, we can certainly connect you with that team, and they'll stream you in from wherever you're located. So we'd like to help you with doing that. It's a great way to be known in your state of what's going on. What else have we got? What's our brand?
The one thing that I was going to give Melissa Lee a heads up on is I think the Color of Freedom is going to be in Little Rock. Is that still the plan, Phyllis?
It is. Yes, in June. In June.
At the MacArthur Museum.
At the MacArthur Museum. And we're also talking with JB Hunt. And apparently we might be getting additional sponsorship funds from JB Hunt, who is based in Little Rock.
Actually, ma'am, they're based in Lowell, Arkansas. They're in my backyard.
Okay.
JB
So
Hunt
apparently the matriarch of the JB Hunt family is 93 years old. Like next week, General Vaught will be turning 93. So yeah, they're coordinating for me to have a conversation with this grand dame of the Hunt family and see if she might write us a nice check.
That would be awesome. Her name is John L. Hunt. I would expect she's quite a force here in Northwest Arkansas and across.
As I have heard. So, okay, brand champions, here we go.
So Claire, if you want to do this, fine. Otherwise, I'll just go through these slides.
I'm happy to do it. I'll run through it pretty quickly. Sorry, I'll just put on my camera. All right. Hi, everyone. So as everybody knows, I think it was about 2.5 years ago, we changed our branding, our logo changed, our colors had some changes, our fonts and everything, kind of our general image. So our marketing team here works really hard to make sure that we are on point with our branding across everything that we do. So it doesn't matter if it's social media, if it's press releases, if it's any sort of products that we have, you name it, they make sure that we're consistent across the board. And some people just really quickly might question what our brand is. It's our logo, it's everything that we do. It's our colors, it's our products, it's our publications, it's our correspondence. And while we do have a brand guide, most people don't read it. which we've noticed internally. So we're trying to change that and make people inside our organization and our team, so the ambassadors as well, a little bit more privy to the information that's actually in the brand guide and make it more usable and accessible. So one of the ways that we're doing this is we're creating just a few slides that are easy for people to take a look at and make sure that they're on board with being a brand champion, that they're champions of this marketing, of the new logo, of the colors and everything else. So we started just recently internally with our team, with basically our Zoom backgrounds to make sure that we're consistent across the board. And I will go back a little bit. So as far as branding goes, if you think of any organization, any company that you can think of, the way that you feel, things that draw you to that organization, while they're not completely apparent, everything that they do and everything that they touch that comes out of that organization or that company, it's branding. They make sure that it's consistent across the board. So we want to make sure that we're on par with some of these organizations that we think about. So, you know, whether it be Nike or Google or Walmart or any of those kind of companies, we want to make sure that, you know, we're putting our best foot forward, that we're world class when we talk about branding and marketing. So I touched on before, and Jan just pulled up. So what we're doing internally, and we'd like to share across the board with the ambassadors as well, is that to begin with, we have 3 Zoom backgrounds that we've approved for our team. Every time that we have a meeting, internally or externally, these are the backgrounds that we have. So that when people see us, it's our appearance, it's our perception, it's just consistency across the board. So I think, Jan, I'm not sure if you put those on the ambassador website or not, but if not, we can share these out with everybody. And then coming in the future, we'll have a couple more slides as well, that it's about font, graphics, all these kind of things that just make it easily digestible for everybody.
If I didn't, I'll put them on there. But the other thing is, a couple of people I've noticed came with their old pin or their old name tag to the 25th. If you don't have your new name tag, if you've lost it, please let me know. If you've lost your new pin, please let me know. I know that the gals who were in North Carolina last week had an old pop-up. I need to get them a new one with the current branding information. So if you feel like you have lost something that you're supposed to have with the new logo on it, please let me know by email, and I'll do my best to get you what you need. If Claire will approve the order.
I did. Is there one in there right now? No, it's
No, I'm kidding.
Also with Vistaprint, we are working little by little to go in there when we do have some time, just to update some of the graphics and things in there, so that they are again on brand and consistent with everything that we're doing here. So everything just looks like it's married together.
Yeah, and if I can jump in here quickly too, when we're talking about the brand and so forth, I know that many of us have known the memorial for a long period of time. And so WMSA is an internal acronym that is not well known outside, and especially not within the younger community. So I at times hear people saying, hey, are you a member of WMSA? And most people, you get the deer in the headlight look. They don't know what we mean when we say that. So we've got to be mindful that, of course, you know, that acronym, while we are officially legally the Women in Military Service for America Memorial Foundation, you know, we tend to just default to we're the Military Women's Memorial Foundation. But for all legal documents and so forth, we're the long name. But just if we can help people to remember us as the Military Women's Memorial, it makes it a lot easier. All the signage in and around accessing, driving to get to the physical Military Women's Memorial, that's how we're seeing Military Women's Memorial.
So the last things that I have are, don't forget to put your activities in on the JOT form. I've got the link on here. The link is always on the Facebook page. If you bookmark it on your device, you can update your activities pretty easily and not have to go look for it. You know about the 23,000 new registrations this year. It's important always to be ready with your why, of why it's important to register your, if you got 15 seconds with a veteran, what do you tell them about why it's important to register? I would say that some people do need to work on their own registration. I find it very powerful when you're out at doing an information table to have your own registration there to let people know what it looks like because they're connecting with you, which means you want your own registration to be a great example of what putting your story in a national registered database looks like. Carolyn, did you have a comment?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yesterday, we were doing the MilVets conference in Raleigh, where we got the 26, and we were hustling to get the 26. Even just for time's sake, we were just getting them to fill out the very, very basics on the paper copy of the registration, and then myself and Kathy are entering those. But you're right. What was very beneficial was I had my presentation folder with the, with all of my data, and then the memorial on the other side. And that was very popular. Showing it to them really was a graphic that they liked, that they could get one too if they registered and included the photo and all that. It was good to have.
I said thank you earlier. I can never say thank you enough for everything that you're doing to support the Military Women's Memorial and the women that we seek to honor by ensuring their stories are included in our history. I see Amy has a hand up, but again, thank you for everything you do. And I'm going to turn it back over to Phyllis for, fielding any additional questions or comments. Amy, did you have a question?
Thank you, Jen. I just wanted to let you know that I'm super excited. The state of Colorado is having their first all-women veteran honor flights, and we will be coming to the memorial. We will be there April 20th through the 22nd, and I've been working with Marilla already to make sure these 29 ladies are registered before we get there. And I'll be in a guardian for them as well. So I'm super excited. So I'll see you in a month.
Awesome.
Yeah, one thing that I'd like to highlight is if, sometimes I stumble across things that are happening within different states and whatnot. And many times you guys already know, and I'm just trying to figure out how we can deconflict, because sometimes I just push it to Jan. Jan, do they know? And she's like, they've known about that North Carolina thing for months. They got it. Okay, well, I just learned about it. So I just don't want us to miss some of these golden opportunities. I just want to figure out how we can, how I can see what you guys already have projected forward, like you said on that JOT form document. It's a great way to sort of look at that. But our volunteers that are in-house, we have a way for them to not only book the hours and events that they've worked on already come and gone, but projecting out to the future, like those that are going to work the Jessica Lynch events, they already have put in how many hours they're going to do on each of those days. They'll go back and double check against what they actually did compared to what they thought they were going to do. And normally they add hours because it just is that way. But if I could sort of figure out how we can do this in a more succinct fashion, so I know which states are managing, and if you guys already have accepted speaking opportunities, because sometimes they still reach out here to headquarters wanting one of us to go speak, but I'm all about getting the ambassadors out there and engaged and doing the heavy lift within your state. So these big wins, as we look back at how we achieved 23,000 registrations this year, is a lot of it's going to be the work of what you guys are able to do, but we are standing ready to support you in any way, just trying to deconflict, make sure you know if something's happening in your state, or that we know once you know what's happening. And Jan and I are trying to figure out the smartest way to do that, but more to follow on that.
Well, what if they just posted the event in the Facebook page?
Well, yeah, until it gets down about 20 posts down and I'm not scrolling all the way through there. So it's a question of how do we figure these things out, you know, especially if it's something they know is happening in August, which we love getting advance notice. I saw somebody earlier in the chat posted, is anybody going to one of the, we're looking at the big national events. And I see Claire posting Google Doc, but you know what? Not everybody here knows and loves Google Docs, Claire. So that's one of our challenges is the technology, making sure that everybody is on board to this. But back to the VFW, DAV, American Legion, those AMVETS, the big conferences that probably have 2,000 people or more in attendance. Those are the ones that we try to make sure if we can get a national speaker to be there. But many of you are.
I think as a rule of thumb, Phyllis, if it's a state level thing, we ought to have the ambassadors do it. I mean, we should just say that's your domain.
Correct.
If it's a national level thing, then they should assume that the headquarters is taken care of.
Right. It's just sometimes we become aware of that there's a state level event and I don't want to just go, well, that's theirs and delete it and then turn out none of us had it on our radar.
Lorena always sends them to me, so I send them to the ambassador.
Okay.
Yeah, Phyllis, we get requests via the internet for various speaking events, which I forward to General Edmonds for consideration by the ambassador in that state. And that's worked quite well, I think, Jan, for us.
Yeah.
And
but what about those events that don't even know that we exist? And that's the question. I love when we get the request, but the ambassadors may become aware that there is an event going to happen that's featuring women veterans, and nobody's asked the state ambassadors, and they haven't even asked here at National, but we stumble across that event is going to happen. And so that tag the state ambassadors, you know, reach out like Sandy Adams did, the Jewels, the Joint Women Leadership events is going to be in the San Diego, California area. So once we send it down out to the ambassadors in that area, Sandy was very quick to say, hey, I'd like to offer myself as one of your speakers. Here's what I do. Here's the kind of topics that I talk about. Here's my bio, and see if they'll bite. It gives you a great opportunity to be there. But just want to make sure that we don't leave things hanging out there, because we presuppose state knows and state presupposes we know, and then it just sort of falls off. This is a big year. We've got a big push to get to those 23,000, but with the state veteran directors and other things, I think we can make some headway. And tag, that goes back to asking you to please reinvigorate your relationship if it needs to be reinvigorated back with your state level leadership. We have 2 raised hands.
Great.
Okay. Who we got?
Even if I did know about something and I'm already going and everything, and if you came across it and sent me a message, I would be okay with that. I'd rather know 2 or 3 times what's happening than to miss it totally, right? So I'm never offended by getting a second or third message about something going on.
Perfect. Thanks, Charlene.
Judy?
I've found that most universities have veterans or student veteran organizations. And they are more than willing. I'm going to speak at Ohio State, the Ohio State, at the end of the month. And I was wondering too, this is a dumb thing, but can we get a license plate holder with the logo on it? Not just that says Women's Memorial, because it doesn't say women or Military Women's Memorial.
Just say military women.
Can we just get one with the logo that says Military Women's Memorial? And also, third thing, where are we with fundraising for the new renovations? Thank you.
That's questions. And I'm seeing Darlene's question. How do you get the word out that you're available to schools? Sometimes you reach out to both either the admissions and or the financial aid offices tend to have a veteran support office in either of those 2 areas. And that's just simply let them know who you are, what you do, and that you'd love to have the opportunity to speak to the veterans. And again, don't think only the women veterans. I will tell you, it's been incredibly powerful when you speak with all of the veterans, because guess what? Those men that are veterans served side by side with women. They have family members and so many others, that women that they know. And once you sensitize them, they'll make sure either their grandmother, their mom, their sister, their daughter, somebody that needs to be registered, they'll do that. So admissions and financial aid offices within universities, if that's what you're talking about. And then there also is an organization called the Student Veterans Association, and SVA is massive. And they have a platform and a program like I've not seen in a long time. So you can always look up Student Veterans Association and then see if they have a chapter in the school or university that you're referring to. How are we doing on fundraising for the national renovation? Well, not as well as we would like, but I will tell you that Boeing and Lockheed and PenFed and now DAR and all these others are sending money our way, but we need to raise close to $20 million when it's all said and done. So that's where this capital campaign, those 1 square foot at $330 for every post on the DAR, chapters, any of those, it can add up very quickly. Every 3 of them equals $1,000. We've got over $9 million in square feet yet to be purchased. So, we'd love to see 1 million of it sold this year, but we're also talking with some very wealthy individuals and some big corporate defense companies. It takes much longer courtship than you would think. We would have been married and divorced by now if this was a boy meets girl relationship. It takes months and sometimes years to come to a conclusion. And even when that happens, we don't get it all in one lump sum. We get like 1/3 of it each year for 3 years. But anything that you can think of, again, the quilt is one of those kind of things. We've got over $1,300 worth of sweepstakes tickets purchased on that beautiful quilt. It's on display at the memorial. Every little bit makes a difference. And I will tell you too, on the operating side, while we talk about that, so you're aware, to run this full operation is nearly $10,000 per day. And so it's a constant, moving to just try to stay afloat, let alone to grow bigger. But events like we just had with the 4 stars sets the course and the tone. So the team here has worked hard, and we're going to continue to work hard to make you all very proud that we bring world-class programming. And when people walk through that memorial, it is clean, neat, fresh, and they walk out of there standing a little bit prouder, knowing on whose shoulders they stand. And that's what we're there for, is to make all of that happen. Do we have another question?
Robin has her hand up.
Yes, Robin.
Yeah, I've been going through my brochures. I got a big event at the end of the month, plus my DAR event next week. The last brochure I've received has founding honorary chapter Hillary Clinton, Barbara Bush, Reagan, Carter.
The wrong one.
She needs some new brochures.
Yeah, I don't have, this is the last ones I've received. I do have the Square Foot Society one. I've got plenty of those, but I probably need to refresh my other stuff.
Robin, shoot us an email telling us how many you need and the mailing address you want.
Writing it down already.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Great meeting.
Great. Okay. Anybody else? Any alibis?
I don't know. You said something about duplicates early on. Is Christina wanting to talk about duplicates, or?
Chris, are you still on? You want to talk about making sure that they are really diligently inspecting, that they have, in just this past 10 days, we have 39 duplicates. It's not necessarily an ambassador issue. We're just trying to make sure people are checking closely and ensuring that they don't have, they're not adding a duplicate into the mix.
Yeah, I'm here. I'll just briefly touch on it. I'm new to the meeting. My name is Chris. I'm the Director of Registration and the Senior Staff Accountant. Yes, we do have a duplicate issue, and we've talked about it internally. We're trying to come up with a better duplicate rule. I know that it's difficult to search on the front end because you only have so many only 100 will come up. So if you have a common name, I know that that's difficult. So I'm not sure what the solution is to that. We are working on a duplicate rule, but what I would ask you all is if you have any questions at all, to either call me directly or send us an email. And not to do workarounds. We see a lot of workarounds trying to, I fixed one today. Somebody entered a South Korea address, and it's an APO, and they put the country as South Korea, but that's really a US because it's an APO address. Because on the back end, we have several fields that are formula fields that you guys don't see or have access to. So anytime you're doing any registrations, any question at all, I would ask that you either call, send an email. We are trying to, again, work to get a duplicate role, but it is an issue. And we have a very small team here. And in the last few days, there have been a lot of registrations, which is fantastic. I know a lot of them are coming in from you all, and I want to thank you for that. And we physically look at every single one of those. And again, our team is very small. So anything you guys can do to help would be fantastic. I do want to echo the sentiments of Jan and Phyllis, and thank you all. We could not do this without you. 23,000 registrations in 2023 is a big lift. I think that we can get there with your help, but I'm here to support you in any way that I can. Judy, you have a question? I don't know who's doing the questions. I see Judy.
Jan,
Yeah.
if you can stop sharing. I'm going to do a screen grab of everybody that's still on. Thank you.
The question about the brochures just got me thinking, is this our most current brochure?
No,
No,
it doesn't have the new logo on it.
Right, right.
yeah, no.
Oh, well, I'm glad I asked.
If it has the old logo on it, it's not current.
Yeah, okay. I'll send you an email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from anybody? Comments? It's time to wrap it up. Yes, Shelley.
I just was thinking about this last weekend when Barbara and I were at a craft fair. This one family was sure that their mother was not registered, and she was in World War II, or back in, I guess, the 40s was, I guess. And I said, well, I'm going to go back and I'm going to search. And I found her, and they were kind of disappointed because one of her friends must have registered her, but I found her. And so they didn't get to register her, but they were sure she had never been registered, but I found her. So they didn't get to register her. And so it does pay to look.
You can always add a story or some photos or something, right?
Well, they didn't really have much information, but they just wanted to get her registered, and then but I guess somebody else, and the person, I don't think they knew who the person was that had registered her, but it had the name who registered her, and it was their mother. So she was there.
Yeah, fun.
Okay. I know we've run over. Is Phyllis still here? Did you have anything left to say?
I don't.
Stop the recording, or
I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Say I am.